has been an awakening. Have you felt it? And the light.
So I want to try a little something different with today's trailer review. Normally, speed is the name of the game, getting my trailer review up as soon as possible. But today, because this was released on a holiday weekend, I had personal commitments, obligations that I couldn't shirk. So I apologize for this review getting up so much later than the trailer was originally posted, but again, it's going to allow us to try something new today. And this trailer is perfect for this little experiment because what I want to do is go through it sequence by sequence. Now, before we do that, though, I just want to start by saying that I think it's pretty clear that since the original trilogy, Star Wars has lost its way as a franchise. And because of that, because it's gone in so many different directions, or if you want to take a glass half empty approach, it's all over the place, I think the franchise at this point means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So I had no idea what to expect with this teaser trailer. However, I will say that I was quite happy with what I got. However, that being said, another advantage to having a delay in posting this trailer review is that I've seen a lot of people's reactions online, and they were not all positive. So I think that this is a very interesting discussion that we're going to have here throughout the pre-release of this movie, and I think it's because Star Wars is so many different things at this point to so many different people. But I think it needs a change, and I think that's the big thing about this trailer, change. All right, so we're going to go here sequence by sequence, not shot by shot, but, you know, in between the fades to black, which was very dramatic. I like it quite a bit. All right, so we start out here on this desert, and I'm like, ooh, okay. And this is great. Having John Boyega come up right away, I think, is a really good idea. It's a very bold statement made by this movie immediately. As I discussed when they announced the casting for Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, this is not only incredibly diverse by Star Wars standards, but by Hollywood blockbusters standards. This is like at the level of Fast and Furious, but even more so, because I think the Fast and Furious films have like an urban feel to them, where this is just truly democratically diverse across the board in terms of ethnicity and gender. And by having John Boyega be the first thing that you see, the movie's wearing that diversity on its sleeve, and I think I'm very excited about it, but make no mistake, this is an experiment by Hollywood, and they're doing it with a really trusted brand, which I think is going to help, you know, hopefully smooth this transition over to movies where they're all this diverse, and I think this is something a lot of people want to see, but it's something that people say they want to see, but you never know for sure until they actually buy a ticket. But I think John Boyega also looks really good here. He looks like really clean-cut, you know, our standard hero, and I think that's really great. He looks like immediately I recognize that's the hero. The other thing is he's wearing a stormtrooper uniform. Now, I'm thinking, hey, aren't they all supposed to be clones, right? They don't look like John Boyega. But then, of course, the Empire was defeated in the original trilogy, which is our middle section in terms of the way the franchise unfolds. So who knows what the stormtroopers are today? Although people who read the books might have an answer, although the books were thrown out. So we don't know what we're dealing with here. So the question is John Boyega's character undercover, or are the stormtroopers regular soldiers now where anyone can enlist? So I think that in that short little scene, there's a lot of questions that immediately arise, both in terms of the story and also the statements that the film is making in terms of casting. All right, so the next shot here, this This is really funny. This is just, I don't even know what to make of this. You're like, is that R2-D2's head? Is that baby R2-D2? I mean, I think it's just there to be like, robots, and for us to go, I love robots, especially in Star Wars. So there isn't too much to take away from that, although that looks like a robot that would break really easily, right? I mean, but maybe he's cobbled himself together to solve something. Who knows? But not a lot to take away from that shot. Now, the next one, I love this next one quite a bit. Again, more stormtroopers, which leads me to believe that maybe John Boyega is a stormtrooper. I have to say, a personal memory here. The very first time I went to San Diego Comic-Con, I was in, San Diego Convention Center waiting to go in, and a whole battalion of stormtroopers, of course, fans of the franchise who'd gotten together to go to San Diego Comic-Con and comprise this battalion, marched through the lobby area of the convention center. And you had to make way for them. They were in perfect formation. I will never forget it. It was really powerful because it's such a strong, iconic image in terms of the franchise and comic book culture, but it just looked so cool. It made me feel like I had arrived at Comic-Con, and this is what Comic-Con was all about. It wasn't some, overhyped thing. It was what you expected it to be. So that has a very special place in my heart, and I think Stormtroopers have a special place in a lot of people's hearts. So I love seeing them here, and also nothing beats seeing a bunch of Stormtroopers together. So that's very cool. But also having them in this situation where they're going to deploy reminds me of that great opening sequence in that fantastic Godzilla trailer. So I think that it takes something that's familiar and puts it into a current more modern day setting. We see airdrops all the time. Captain America's a big fan of airdrops, as we know. So to see them getting ready for that, I think is very cool. And the way it's shot with the flashing light and the hectic quality of it. And also the music that's coming on here. We're watching this silently right now, but you've just seen the full trailer before watching my review. The music here is used so effectively, the soundtrack, which has always been such a big part of the Star Wars franchise, that it's doing such a great job at ramping up the tension. Like it's the incline before the ride of a roller coaster. And the fact that we don't get to go on the ride, we just experience the incline, is a great tease. And I think this is one of the rare cases where a teaser trailer is actually a teaser trailer. All right, so for our next sequence, we have Daisy Ridley. We finally get to see her. There are very few pictures of Daisy Ridley available anywhere on the internet, anywhere at all. So I think it's interesting they chose to focus on her here. I think that Lupita Nyong'o and Gwendolyn Christie have a lot more fans, and people, for instance, would have loved to have seen either one of them. But I think that the nice thing about Daisy Ridley is she certainly looks a lot like Princess Leia. She has Princess Leia's spunk, she looks like Princess Leia, she's dressed like Princess Leia in Return of the Jedi. And she's riding a variation of that kind of speeder bike. So I think that's very cool, and I think that this at least plays into the idea of, I want to ride one of those too, which is a big part of Star Wars. But the next thing, I really like this next shot, which is something I'd much rather ride, and that's an X-Wing. This is great. I don't believe that we know that actor, or he's not one of the big actors that's been cast. But I think this is one of the great things about Star Wars, the X-Wing fighters, and that they fly in formation. And sometimes you don't know all of the X-Wing fighters, but you will, because if you're a major Star Wars fan, you'll make it your business to know them. But I love it. Also brings back memories of the original flight sequence from the first film with Luke Skywalker in A New Hope. That's really has the nostalgia factor. But then when they're flying over the water and you're like, where are they going? And you can tell they're about to enter battle. Again, it's building tension. It's ramping up to something. In this case, some kind of engagement, and that's really cool. And I love seeing them fly over the water and again in attack formation. A big part of Star Wars, and I think that J.J. Abrams understands this, is that all the little parts are not as important as the whole. And I think that's very exciting. It's also kind of like, the idea of the Force, right? I mean, the Jedi Knights all contribute to this bigger and bolder thing. So that leads us into our next segment, and I have to say that this sequence is what sold me on the teaser trailer. This is where I was like, okay, J.J. Abrams, I'm totally on board, because this is where the fantasy elements have come in, and also a medieval aspect to this. And I love that J.J. Abrams is remembering that this is sci-fi, science fiction. That there's like a fantasy quality to it, and I love that he's bringing in this the medieval aspects here. And that's the Jedi are an order of knights, and I think to bring in that those iconic kind of images is really wonderful. And this lightsaber is really impressive. I thought, what else can you do with a lightsaber after you had the double-ended one, right? With the Darth Maul carried. What else could there be? Now this one's not only interesting because maybe it's very helpful in short-range attacks, but it looks like a sword, a medieval sword, which is super cool. But it's on fire practically. It's made of light. Obviously, it's a lightsaber. But the second thing is that it looks a little bit like a cross. And that brings in the, medieval religious aspects that are a big part, of course, of, medieval stories and medieval, culture, very religious time period. And to bring this into Star Wars is very exciting to me. Also, you'll see that this is very low-tech outside of the lightsaber, the rags, the cape and hood this figure is wearing. There's some rumor this might be Luke Skywalker. We'll see. Whoever it is very lucky, because I think this is going to be a big deal character. But I just love this so much. And it also reminds me a little bit of Harry Potter, even with Voldemort, when they often have all those scenes running through the woods. And I just love that. I love that they're going here with this. And I think it's important to add to the richness of Star Wars. This is just something that I couldn't be happier about. And as I said, this is where the teaser trailer won me over, where I was like, this is going to be something truly unique, but at the same time familiar. So then, after this amazing shot of our villain, I'm guessing, we go into our, our fan pleaser. There it is with the Millennium Falcon, and of course, it's flying, but in like an Earth-like type sky, and it's really doing some impressive maneuvers. So I think that's fantastic, and of course, it leads into the tail end, the music, the title that we all love and know and are familiar with. Now, what do we not see? I think it's very interesting that they did not decide to show any of the original cast members that are returning, unless that is Luke Skywalker's back. In that case, it would be Mark Hamill. But to not show any of the original cast and not use them as a crutch is another bold move. And I think it's J.J. Abrams signaling that, yes, he's going to have the old cast kind of hand off the franchise to the new cast, but this is a new story. He wants you to be involved in this new, almost new entire canon. Because, as I said, they've jettisoned the Star Wars universe that's been built for so many years and said, you know what, he's kind of doing what he did with Star Trek, like, okay, well, no disrespect to that, but I'm creating this alternate storyline over here. But I like it because it looks like J.J. Abrams and his whole team is paying attention to what they're doing. There's a lot of care and attention to detail given here. I mean, even the shots that I think were chosen here were chosen, it's almost like a scavenger hunt. And it wasn't just chosen because of what looks cool. It was really constructed to, again, build up that tension and ramp up the excitement for the film. But again, a lot of people have not liked this, and I'm very curious to hear your concerns and what you would have liked to have seen instead. And also, what is Star Wars to you? To me, it's lost a lot of its value. To me, it's now a brand, and it's more the technology and the world building. I love the world of Star Wars, even though I've become detached from its inhabitants. But I'm very curious to go back, and maybe that's why I'm eager to meet new players. I'm like, well, maybe are you going to be somebody that I can follow and get, back into the drama of this universe instead of just the universe itself? But maybe some of you, I mean, I know that a lot of the animated shows have continued to have an audience, etc. So maybe that's what you want to see instead. But I'm just curious. I'm very pleased, again, as I said, and it looks like next holiday season, J.J. Abrams has given us a wonderful gift, the restoration of the Star Wars franchise. All right, thank you so much for tuning into my review. Again, I apologize for the wait, but I'm very curious to what you think of this different format. Your feedback is always welcome. Constructive feedback. Thank you so much. All right, bye.